good morning. It is good to see you today. My name is Pastor Mark, and it is day number 10 of our daily Lent Devotional. And it's at least daily in the sense that it's going to be on this YouTube channel Monday through Friday. I'll post it on our Facebook page as well. I do take Saturdays off. You won't see a video on that day. And then, of course, on Sundays, the day of worship, you could tune into our stream with our sermon. That'll really be on the same theme this Easter, which is what are some things that we need to learn to let go of, lay down, and really hand things over to the Lord that get in the way of our relationship with God, get in our way of being able to focus in on Easter. We allow so many things in our life to clutter our lives, like fear and the comparison game and anxiety. All these things clutter our lives, and what we need to do is we need to learn to lay them down. We need to learn to surrender them to God. Not only so we can see truly Easter for what Easter is, why it's important, but also then we can live out our lives as Christians, as we're called to do. And so today we're looking at another one of those aspects on what it looks like to lay something down. And today we're looking at this idea of really how busyness and just the rush of life and how we expect God to kind of keep up with our pace. We need to let go of all that and learn to be patient with the Lord. In fact, this is from Psalm 37:7. It says here, "Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him." And then it goes on to say, "Fret not yourself over the one who prospers in his way, over the man who carries out evil devices." And we live in a world that, like, even this video I'm putting together on YouTube, like, it will go out immediately once I send it and around the world if anybody wants to watch it anywhere. And so there's an opportunity just to work on that speed. And I think sometimes, things are going faster and faster in our world, and then we just lose track of the fact that, wait a second, just because things are going faster in our world doesn't mean that it's going to change God's timing on things. And so, like the psalmist says, we need to learn to be still. We need to learn to wait, and we need to learn to be patient. Patiently wait on God. And then it goes on to say, like, how, the reason why the verse continues is we'll sometimes play the comparison game. We'll look at our neighbors, and then we'll be like, well, why is God answering their prayers and not mine? Why is God giving them all these things, and then here I'm still just waiting? Well, today I want to help us be able to understand that. Let me give you just another paraphrase of this verse, and I love Eugene Peterson. It is not a true translation of the Bible, although what he did is go through the entire Bible and kind of write down almost a modern day commentary. And I love this, where it says, "Quiet down before God, be prayerful before him, and don't bother with those who climb the ladder, who elbow their way to the top." Because he's pointing out that, like, listen, God's timing is perfect. We need to just quiet down and be prayerful, just waiting on the Lord, and not worry about other people, and just learn to focus on him. And so for the rest of this video, I just want to highlight three things here. 3 reasons why we should be just excited and willing to just be patient on God. And I know this is hard because a lot of times, it's hard to be patient. It's hard to patiently wait for things. But I believe there's 3 reasons why we should learn to patiently wait on God. Reason number 1 is this. And let me pull it up on the screen. God's timing is beautiful and appropriate. And this comes from Ecclesiastes chapter 3. And I just highlighted the bookmark verses because if you remember Ecclesiastes chapter 3, there's a time for all these things. And, there's a time for war, there's a time for peace, there's a time for celebration, there's a time for laughter, there's a time for all these things. And Solomon in this verse is basically highlighting how he reminds us that life unfolds in God's appointed seasons. And we may not understand the season we're in, but every season is part of God's plan. And God is sovereign over all those seasons. And so here's what he's saying. For everything, there's a season. And a time for every matter under heaven. And then at the end of that list in Ecclesiastes chapter 3 that I think all of us know, it says he's made everything beautiful in its time. So the reason why we can be patient, learn to be patient with God, is he's making everything beautiful. Like, we may not see it, we may not understand it, we may not understand the season we're walking through, and like, where is God? In the grand scheme, in the grand tapestry of what God is doing, he is doing things that are beautiful behind the scenes. He's building something that is going to even be more beautiful than we can even imagine someday. And so he's at work. We just don't necessarily see it. And so that's why we should learn to be patient. The second reason I wrote down on why we should be excited about being patient on the Lord is because God's timing is planned. God's timing is planned. And really, Easter, there's no better time of the year to see this than Easter, because even in Galatians chapter 4, verse 4, it says, but when the fullness of time had come, God sent forth his Son. And I love what Paul is reminding us of, is because what happens is that we are patiently waiting on God, and then maybe when God answers a prayer, it just seems arbitrary. Well, nothing's arbitrary with God. Like, God from the very beginning knew the time that he was going to send forth his Son. Like, in the fullness of time, meaning in the completion of time, in the meaning of what God had planned up to that moment, at the very perfect time, God sent forth his Son into this world to then eventually die on the cross and on the third day rise again. That is Easter, but it came at the perfect time. It didn't come at an arbitrary time. It didn't come at some random time. God had everything planned down to the very moment that Jesus was going to come into this world. And he has everything else planned to the very moment as well. Even though it looks chaotic at times, the world is chaotic because the world is full of sin. And so there's a lot of chaos. But behind the scenes, like, God is not arbitrarily answering one prayer and then not answering another prayer. No, he has a reason, good reasons why he answers prayers at a specific time. It is very planned. And then the final thing I just want to highlight on why we should be excited about, patiently waiting on the Lord. God's timing is for good. Like, God's timing is for not just your good, but everyone's good. In fact, here's another thing that the Lord did. He, in Isaiah chapter 40, verse 3 and 4, and this is a prophecy of John the Baptist, but it says, a voice cries in the wilderness to prepare the way of the Lord. Make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Every valley shall be lifted up, and every mountain and hill shall be made low. The uneven ground shall become level, and the rough places of the plain. And so that was a prophecy made 700 years before the birth of Christ. And then 700 years later, that prophecy comes true. And then all of a sudden, here's John the Baptist saying the same thing. Because what is the plan of patiently waiting on the Lord? Yeah, God is going to bring forth his Messiah. And that's what John the Baptist was pointing to, is that the Lord is coming, the Messiah is coming. And he's going to make all of our paths straight, not just for today, but for eternity. And so even though it may not seem like it, because we still live in a fallen world, we still live in a sinful world, our paths have been made straight because of, God's plan for good. And we can patiently wait on the Lord, knowing that his plans are good. These three reasons are reasons why we should be excited about patiently waiting on God. And I know it is difficult. It is hard. And so I'm not just trying to give you three reasons and say, yep, there you go, just do these 3 things. Now, each one of these things, I think, are challenging. But I would pray that you consider it and really go to the Lord in prayer and even ask him to help you be patient on him. Where you may be walking through a season or a set of circumstances that it may not look like there's any end in sight. And yet we can know for certain that even though the season might be tough, God is at work. And so whatever you're dealing with, I pray that you're rejoicing today and celebrating, which we all should be celebrating what Christ did for us when it comes to Easter. But there are days where we're mourning. There's days of sadness. There's days of struggle. And the God that is on the mountaintop is also the God on the valley. And we can patiently wait on the Lord because his timing is beautiful. His timing is planned, and his timing is for good. Your good, my good, all good that he has in store for why Jesus came into this world in the first place. So I hope this is an encouragement for you. I mean, these videos are just meant to be of an encouragement, to provoke thought, to help us be able to prepare our hearts for Easter, help us be able to walk the way that God wants us to walk. I mean, they're helpful for me as well. It's just my opportunity to celebrate Lent and this season in this way. But until we meet again tomorrow, which will be day number 11, I just pray that you can trust that God's timing is perfect. You can celebrate that. And I look forward to seeing you in our next video installment, our next daily devotional. So God bless. Have a great rest of the day.